Hello everyone, and welcome to the ASMR review show. Well, we are coming up to the big event, Oscar season 2024. People still care about that show, right? Do they? Well, I do to an extent if it's a good year. And you know what? Actually, this year was pretty good. I gotta say, it was pretty decent. Most movies are pretty good. I ended up watching all of the films nominated for Best Picture. So normally I would do a ranking, but lately, of course, we've been doing the tier list videos, and those have been quite fun. So we'll do a tier list for the Oscar nominees for Best Picture of 2023, presented in 2024. But if you thought we were going to be just doing that, well, you know the drill. You got clickbaited. Because there's a lot of films that are up for some Oscars that are not just simply Best Picture that I'd like to talk about. And I'd also like to perhaps mention a couple of films I thought got a little snubbed. So we've got 10 films for Best Picture. We've got another 5 that were nominated for Oscars but not Best Picture. And another 5 that were simply not nominated for anything whatsoever. So we're going to be doing a mashup of those. And the tier list will be sort of in terms of both what I think of the quality of the film and also more so, does this film deserve to win lots of awards or be up for these big awards? So make of that what you will. I think it's going to be a bit of an interesting mashup. Also, it's pretty good because I remember when I did my top 10 films of the year, I said the year overall felt a little disappointing. But now that I've gotten around to a couple more of those big awards movies, no. You know what? Actually, I would say overall 2023 was a very good year for film. In some ways, perhaps even stronger than 2022. I just think there weren't as many movies that hit me off the bat like 2022 did. And we have a nice, tasty, honey-toasted almond ale for this video. So, let's begin. You can see what we're going to be going through already. First up, we have American Fiction, which was one of the Best Picture nominees. This film was pretty good. It's got a very fun perspective and style on things, kind of part serious drama and also part satire of, like, the Hollywood perspective on telling black stories. So I thought it was very well done in that regard. My only issue is that, well, all the best moments were in the trailer. That's a little disappointing. So, you know, I don't think this one's going to be winning too many awards, but, you know, up for Best Actor for Jeffrey Wright, that's good. Best Supporting Actor for Sterling K. Brown, okay. Screenplay nomination, yeah, that makes sense. Score, though, that's one I don't really understand. I can't recall the score whatsoever. I just think of, you know, like jazz, right? And so if this had to be a Best Picture nod, I'd say it's a decent one. But I'm not super in love with the movie, and I probably won't end up rewatching it. So for me, it's going to go in the C tier. Next up, we have a film that was up for a couple of Oscars, but not Best Picture. Actually, I think it only got one Oscar nomination for script, and that is May December. May December is a bit of a difficult film to rank because while it is a good film, I almost don't want to watch it again because of how gross it made me feel. So I wanted to give this film a shout out because I do feel it was snubbed pretty hard in some of the acting categories, and I think that would have been nice to see. So overall, yeah, it's a very interesting and disturbing and unique film. Maybe if I'm feeling gross, I'll give it a watch. So that one, I think, you know, maybe for me it would have been in C tier in terms of how I ranked it compared to movies throughout the year, but we'll give it a little bit of a bump in the B tier for that one. Though I know for some people this one was like their favorite of the year in S tier, and I'm not going to debate that. If you really loved this movie that much, then yeah, I want to shout it out because I think it deserved a little more for some nominations than it got. Next we have another one that's up for Best Picture. Anatomy of a Fall. The French government absolutely smacking themselves in the face for this not being the one that they chose to promote as Best International Film. But then again, I hear that The Taste of Things is pretty good. I have not seen that one yet. If there's any film that I don't talk about on this list, then you can check my Letterboxd account and see what films I've watched. So, for example, The Color Purple. I actually haven't seen the Spielberg one, nor have I seen this new one, so I can't comment on that. And The Taste of Things I haven't seen. I haven't seen any of the documentaries or the short films, so don't ask me for my opinion on those ones. I don't know. But Anatomy of a Fall is a very good movie, really well done. I think I'll like to rewatch that one at some point. If that one does sneak in a couple of big awards, I'd be totally okay with that. I think it's really cool. And a lot of great nominations for that. I'd say it's been rightfully praised, and it deserves that. It's a very unique and interesting courtroom, murder mystery drama. So yeah, I really like that one a lot. I'll give that one an A tier. Next, we have a film that was completely snubbed, and I wasn't surprised that this film was snubbed, but, I was hoping, we can always have hope. And that is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I think if I had watched this film by myself, I might have thought it was okay, but watching it with my wife and finding out that this was basically the story of her life when she was that age, like, oh, I get it now. It was the same reaction I had watching Lady Bird. The first time I watched it, I thought, that was a good drama, that was nice. And then I watched it with her, and she was just like, oh my god, I'm on TV. Like someone had filmed her life with camera. Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen this one get a bit of recognition for a couple of things like script or actors, but it didn't. So, I'd like to give that one a little more shout out. So for me, I'll give that one a nice, comfortable B tier. Next, we have Barbie. Of course, the big one, it's nominated for 8 awards, and that still isn't enough. They wanted it to be nominated for more. So here's the thing. It would have been nice for Greta Gerwig to get a director nomination, and I think it would have been very important, as this is probably the most successful female directed movie ever. So that would have been important. But also I look at everyone else that was nominated for Best Director, and they are also all pretty good choices, So I can't really fault them for that. Maybe I would have taken Martin Scorsese out. As much as I love Killers of the Flower Moon, it would have been nice to take him out, and then it would be all new people who hadn't won director yet being nominated. But that's how it is, So yeah. And then Margot Robbie, I do feel she got snubbed for Best Actress in Barbie. Though the discourse that Ryan Gosling stole her spot and was annoying. And I don't get why American Ferrer was nominated. She's good in the movie, but she's got the good speech, and that's it. Oh well, semantics. Yeah, so I enjoyed Barbie a lot. I thought it was pretty fun. Did I like it as much as some of my other friends and relatives? Well, no. For them, it was probably 5-star, S tier. Greta Gerwig is queen. And I get that, of course. I won't debate that. For me, though, it was a well-written, very entertaining comedy that definitely surprised me a little bit. So for me, I'll go B tier for Barbie. If it does win some awards, if it does win some, then that'll be good. I'd like to see a couple of things for it, like production design or costume design, That would be good. Yeah, I dig it. I guess my hot take, though, is that I prefer I'm Just Ken as a song to the Billie Eilish song. But that's because the I'm Just Ken bit's the best part of the movie. So, yeah. It's basically the Billie Eilish award at this point, though. That's fine. Next, we have a movie that was completely snubbed, for awards, and that was The Iron Claw, the best, goodest, feel-bad good movie of the year. Yeah, if you want a bad time and a good bad time, you can watch The Iron Claw. I knew this one was going to be emotionally heavy, and it was more so emotionally heavy than I anticipated, and it was very, very well made. I'm not really that much into wrestling, but of course you can make lots of good movies about wrestling, The Wrestler, Mickey Rourke, one of my favorite movies, very great. And yeah, this one actually surprised me at how good it was. It's not a personal favorite of mine, and I might never watch it again because it's just a little too brutal to get through, but really surprised me. Like, Zac Efron, he's great in the movie. Sometimes his look and his accent was almost unrecognizable to me. So that's good. And, just everyone in the supporting cast is great. And really loved it a lot, so I would have liked to have seen it get a little more recognition, but I think it's because it was an A24 movie, and they had spent most of their, marketing, campaigning, and stuff for other films that they had, instead of this one, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, I really like that one a lot. We're going to give that one a solid A tier for that one. Next up, another Best Picture nominee, The Holdovers. Very happy, but not surprised to see this one getting a lot of Oscar love. Watching it, it was one that I thought had the potential to be nominated for a lot of stuff, and I hoped that it didn't get snubbed, and it didn't, so that is good. I think it's a right respectful amount of praise, a Best Picture nod, and a script, and a couple of actor nods, and actresses, supporting actress, so that's very good. It's a very well done film. Really liked it a lot. I feel like I will enjoy it more the second time. So it's going to be a little lower on the tier list in terms of making sure this is kind of balanced out and not skewed too heavily in one way. But I feel like it has the potential to get even better on a rewatch. And I loved the soundtrack. Funny that we got not one but two movies that made me feel all the feelings to Cat Stevens' song. The other was Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And so The Holdovers will put in the B tier for that one. Then could rise up to A tier in the future, though. I'd like to see some love for that one. Now, next one we have is John Wick 4. Not like I was expecting this movie to get a Best Picture nomination, but I was hoping for a couple of tech awards. I mean, the sound is great, the score is great, the look is great, the visual effects are awesome. I don't know, I was just hoping it could get a few tech awards. I knew it was a long stretch, but last year the Batman came out in March and got nominated for a lot of tech awards. It didn't win any, but it was at least recognized for being one of the best looking and sounding films of the year. So, I had hoped that John Wick 4 could get some of that, but alas, it did not. So, for me, John Wick 4 is a new high standard for action films, and it was my favorite of the franchise. I think there might be some people who didn't like that it was too drawn out at nearly 3 hours long, but for me it was just epic in all the right ways, and the fact that it was a film where the last hour is a big giant fight through Paris, right as I was about to go to Paris myself and see all of these locations that they were in, that made it extra relevant. And I went to Paris and I went to all those places, and then I watched it on the plane home, and I was watching the movie like Leo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I was there. So, for me, John Wick 4 is an S tier movie, and I had hoped that it could get some tech award nominations, but it did not, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's how it is. That's not me saying that it should be a Best Picture nod, there's a balance. Dreaming is free. So, after that, next one is Killers of the Flower Moon. This is a movie where I do want it to be recognized for a lot of stuff. It probably is one of the best movies of this category or this year, the only thing for me is like, if it doesn't win stuff because they don't want to give stuff to a Scorsese movie because he's won so many in the past and it goes to somebody else who hasn't won it yet, I'd be okay with that. I wouldn't be heartbroken. But for me, Killers of the Flower Moon is an S tier film. I've fully come around to loving it. A lot of complaints are made about the length of the film. Actually, I just saw Bruce Campbell at Fan Expo, and he randomly went on a rant about how he didn't like that movie was like way too long. And I get it, but I also don't. I did not feel the film was too long. I feel like it's a long and slow film, but I'm invested in every scene. And the editing by Thelma Schoonmaker is so good. It just keeps flowing at a good pace, and the score is like this weird, ominous drone and this kind of country twang to it that just, it feels dirty, you know? And I've been wanting to see a film like this for a very long time. It's good to see we finally got one, like, of this caliber. And it might be like the greatest ending I've ever seen to a movie. You know, never gonna stop ranting and raving about how great the ending to the film is. Totally worth the 3.5-hour runtime. So yeah, I'd be totally down for Killers of the Flower Moon to win everything. But also, if it doesn't, Scorsese's won a bunch already, so, you know, I don't really think he needs any more, you know. Not unless we retroactively give him all the awards for Last Temptation of Christ, which I know I'm in the minority on that one. Next, we have Nimona. It's an animated film. I'm very happy to see that this one got a Best Animated Feature nomination, especially over Wish by Disney, because Nimona was shut down by Disney, and then Netflix, in a rare win, picked it up and helped get it back on the ground, back rolling. So it's funny to see the Disney movie that Disney dropped end up getting nominated over the movie they were all pushing. Oh yeah, it's the 100th anniversary, it's gonna be huge. So yeah, it's a really, really fun movie. It's got a very similar frantic pacing and energy to a certain other animated film, which we'll be talking about later. And I really love it. It's great. I'll probably end up watching it again. It'll definitely be a good one to throw on as like a animated film that still takes the audience seriously and it's well done. I also like that it's just like unabashedly gay. It's not like a side thing. It's not like it's just simply characters whose only trait is being gay, but it's also a core part of the plot. It's just handled very well, I think. So yeah, that's a great one. That's gonna get an A tier. A tier for me. Yeah, I don't think that'll win the animated awards. There's 2 other films that have got it probably beat, which we'll talk about later. But hey, I'm just glad it's getting some recognition. Next we have Maestro. Oh, Maestro. Okay, so here's the thing. Maestro, people have been debating whether it counts as an Oscar bait movie. And here's the thing. For me, there's not that many pure Oscar bait movies this year. And that's why Maestro feels so much like an Oscar bait movie, because we didn't get that many this year. And it just feels a little desperate, you know. It's a actor-director produced by another famous director about a guy in Hollywood, taking place in the golden age of Hollywood, with a big emphasis on film making and music making, shot in black and white, looking very retro, right? Like, we all properly came to the conclusion that The Artist was an Oscar bait movie, and so was Mank. And this just feels like this year's version of that. So I'm not gonna deny that it is a very technically well-made and well-shot film. There's some very gorgeous cinematography, but ultimately it just adds up to kind of a, you know. I'm sure this is probably Lydia Tarr's favorite film, and she probably watched it all the time. I want to see an edit of that scene where she's like watching the VHS of like one of her idols on TV. I want to see her watching the scene from Maestro where he conducts a Mahler symphony. Yeah, so for me, I was not that into Maestro. That's going to be a D tier for me. It's not actually a D tier film. I don't really dig it, and I don't want it to win stuff. And it's not like I've got anything against Bradley Cooper personally. I just think that his best performance of the year was as Rocket in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. More so than this. Oh well. I feel like it's lost a lot of traction in the awards. I thought it was going to be like a clear winner, and it doesn't seem that way so much. So yeah, we'll see. Next we have El Conde, which is, I believe, Spanish for The Count. This film was nominated for cinematography, so I checked it out because it looked kind of interesting, and yeah, it's a very strange film. It's about, hey, what if Augusto Pinochet, the infamous dictator who led a military coup in 1970s in Chile and reigned for 16 years as a dictatorship, because the CIA influence, because they didn't want that darn dirty socialism down there. What if he was actually like a 200-year-old vampire? And he was wanting maybe to die, but then his family wanted him to live. Yeah, it's kind of a political satire, kind of a vampire spoof. It was very interesting. I can see why it's up for a cinematography nomination. It looks very good. There's a very hilarious third act twist, one where I really hoped it happened, and then the movie did what I wanted it to do, and I loved it. So yeah, that's very fun. So yeah, I enjoy this one a lot. Really dug it. Yeah, it's a pretty fun movie, so we'll go B tier also for that one. I feel like we're gonna get a lot of B's and not so much in the bottom, but that's good. I'm kind of highlighting that this was actually a fairly decent year for award stuff. Next we have Oppenheimer, which I guess is the front runner to win all of the awards this year. I didn't think that would happen. I thought it was going to be another year where Nolan made a very well done technical film like Dunkirk that got overlooked by other stuff. And apparently not. It's actually doing quite well, so that is good. Oppenheimer for me is not my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. It was not my favorite movie of the year. I think there was another World War II movie centered around nuclear fallout that was almost better. Godzilla, which I realize we don't have on here, but that's because it's up for the VFX award. That's what we expected. It's a good movie, so we've all talked about that one enough. So yeah, but for me, it's like Oppenheimer for me is an A tier movie. It's more of a B tier Christopher Nolan movie. I feel like in some cases his tendency to do the non-linearity, the constant music and all that, I feel like sometimes it gets in the way of the plot. The movie is not allowed to have breathers and slow bits. And also it's a little too overly puzzle box meticulousness in its last hour, and it does kind of drag for me. But the score is really great, the look is great, the acting is great, the ending is great. So it's not a movie I will probably watch as often as something like Interstellar or Dunkirk or The Prestige or Inception, but I listen to the score a lot, and it's really, really great movie. So yeah, it's A tier for me. If it does win all the awards, that is good. That is a good choice. It's fine. I think Christopher Nolan should have won for many other things before, specifically Dunkirk. But if this is the one that gets in that, I'll take it, very good. there's only one award I don't want it to win, and that's sound. But that's because there's another movie I want to win sound, which we'll get to. Next up, we have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is up for Best Animated Feature, and that's it. Not Best Score, and not Best Picture. I was really hoping this would get a little bit more of a push, but maybe because it's a Part 1 film, I don't know. Looking forward to seeing the conclusion of this trilogy. Really loved this one a lot. The internet's already fanboyed over it pretty hard. You don't really need me to say any more on that. It's an easy S-tier film for me in that regard. Would have liked to have seen a little more recognition for it, you know. That would have been nice. Next up we have Past Lives, which at the start of the year, this was the one that most people were raving about was the best film of the year. I feel like it's dropped off a little bit since then. But I think it does deserve a lot of recognition in that way. So it's up for Best Picture, which is nice. Not really much else though, which is unfortunate. Would have liked a little bit more recognition for this one. For me, it's an A tier. I'll probably watch it again. I do have a soft spot for the slow, emotional dramas that have lots of pretty cinematography of like cities at night. Lost in Translation being my favorite one of that bunch. So if any film gives me Lost in Translation vibes in that regard, I'll probably like it. And Past Lives did. And there's another one we'll get to quite soon that did as well. Next up we have The Boy and the Heron, the Hayao Miyazaki film, which is up for Best Animated Film, and that's it. Again, really, this one needed a Best Score. Kinda sucks that we got, what did we get? We got 3 Best Scores. I think we got Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Those are good choices. Then we had American Fiction, which I don't really get, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which again, it's more of like they're giving it to John Williams, right? So, I don't know, those other 2 I could have taken out and replaced with Across the Spider-Verse, or John Wick 4, or The Boy and the Heron. I would have accepted those as better choices. This film was really good, it just didn't hit me as hard as I was hoping it would. I'll rewatch it as soon as I get the chance to, and I'm sure on the rewatch I'm gonna love it more. So for me, I'll rank it, maybe I'll give it a little bit of an edge, knowing that it's gonna get better for me. So Boy and the Heron will also go into the A tier for me. Again, it's quite a strong year, even with me trying to balance it out a little bit, you know, so that's good. Next up we have Poor Things, which was my #1 on my top 10 video, and it still is. Has yet to be surpassed. There were 2 films that came pretty close, and we only have a few more films to talk about, so I think you can guess what they are. So yeah, Poor Things for me is an easy S tier film. It just came out on digital as of recording this, so I'll probably be watching it like the very next night after I film this video, and I've been really looking forward to it. I've been rewatching the trailer in anticipation. It did not disappoint. I've started finally watching some more Yorgos Lanthimos films as well, because the big 3 that he did before this one, I had actually never seen. The Lobster, The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and The Favorite. And I thought those were all very well done films. For me, Yorgos Lanthimos is like what I think people think Wes Anderson movies are like, if that makes sense. Like I like Wes Anderson, he's good, but I don't love him. But Yorgos Lanthimos so far I really like, so I'm looking forward to getting into more of his stuff and checking it out. So it's great. If Poor Things wins all the awards, I'd love it. It probably won't, but I'm just glad it got some recognition. Then we have another film that was hardcore snubbed, and that is All of Us Strangers, which I had not seen until like a few days ago, and it was actually really good. I kind of thought, okay, this is gonna be like, the feels movie about people, right? We've got the slow, melancholic feels movies like Past Lives and Lost in Translation, and then we have the quiet dramas about emotional moments between people, and sometimes those can feel a little too quaint and down to earth for me, but I feel like All of Us Strangers was more in that first category I just came up with. So I really liked that one. That one gets an A tier for me. Also, again, I'm pretty lenient when it comes to films, because I don't really go out of my way to watch films I don't like. Some people do that, and you'll see their Letterboxd ratings like that. But for me, I like to watch good movies, so mine goes like that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Like, it was kind of like this does not spark joy, right? Like, if I don't think I'm gonna like a movie, I don't bother watching it, right? I want to watch movies I think I'm gonna like. That's why I probably have way more positive reviews than I do negative reviews, because if I'm not into it, I'm not gonna watch it, right? So, yeah, we're more skewed toward the top end and this sort of thing, yeah. So I think All of Us Strangers, the main point is that it should have gotten a couple of acting nods, would have been nice, or a couple of script nominations, it would have been nice to see, but alas. And now we get to our final two movies to talk about. The last Best Picture nomination we haven't talked about, and the last of my films that was not up for Best Picture but was up for a few Oscars. First of all, we have The Zone of Interest, which was the number one film I was wanting to see that I had not seen at the time of doing my top 10 video. Well, now I've seen it, and where does it fall on the list? Well, pretty high up. I've seen it twice, and that's an S tier movie for me. I was not disappointed by it. It's such a strange and experimental film, which makes me actually more surprised. It's up for a lot of awards. Like Best Director, I think, is a perfect choice for it, but I was surprised at that, and no, it totally deserves all the praise. It's just such a horrific movie, while not being visually horrific. Absolutely should be the one that wins Best Sound. It's so crucial to the film. I've never seen a film, really, that demands you watch one movie with your eyes while you listen to a different movie with your ears, and it's not overdone. I think it's a good balance. It's not so over the top and in your face. And I also like how there was this debate on whether the film was going to try to, paint some of the Nazis in, like, a, sympathetic light. Like, oh, these people were just trying to make the best for their lives, and they just didn't really know what was going on. No, it doesn't do that at all. Right from the start, we're fully aware of what's going on and how horrible these people are for doing what they're doing. And definitely a chilling ending. Probably just as good as Killers of the Flower Moons. Ending for kind of, breaking the fourth wall in a subtle but not so subtle way. And I love it for that. Yeah, very great movie indeed. Everyone needs to see that one. Zone of Interest. Jonathan Glazer, welcome back. And the last one we have to talk about is Society of the Snow, which is it's a Chilean film, but it's a Spanish film about a rugby team from Uruguay taking a plane ride to Chile. Gotta make sure I got all the countries right on that. Yeah, but it's on Netflix. It's based off a true story, and it is crazy good, this one. This one is up for, 2 awards, and it probably won't win them, but it should, okay? This also was, a straight S-tier movie for me. Sometimes I have a thing for those films that are about, the struggle of humanity to survive in the harshest conditions, like The Martian or Das Boot. where people are pushed to the brink, and it's just such a horrifying experience, one that after you watch it makes you want to go, yeah, I'm never going to complain about anything ever again. It's like The Revenant meets Das Boot, and I love it so much. It's like so amazingly well done and well shot. Like, if you told me that these guys went and actually crashed a plane in the Andes Mountains and like filmed everything up there, I'd believe you with how amazing this film looks. It's a very respectful movie. That's not just about the ones that survived. It's about, well, the ones that unfortunately didn't survive. Yeah, so totally worth watching. I didn't know anything about the true story it was based off of, so that made it even more of an intense watch. And also, the score was really good too. I would have liked to have seen this get a score nomination because it's Michael Giacchino, who I normally am actually not the biggest fan of, because I think his scores will have like maybe one or two good tracks, but the rest is kind of forgettable. So I was very surprised that like this was all by him and it was very good. So yeah, I would have liked to have seen that one get more recognition. But there you have it, the 10 Best Picture nominees ranked in a tier list, with a couple of other snubs and, other Oscar movies thrown in there for good measure. So basically, I would not like Maestro to win a lot of stuff. American Fiction, I wouldn't be too heartbroken if it won things. I like The Holdovers and Barbie a lot, so, that'll be good. I'm sure most of the talk will be about snubs for Barbie. It already has been in that pre-video they made for it. Again, Margot Robbie got snubbed. Greta Gerwig, though, it would have been nice, but I understand. Oppenheimer, if it wins everything, that's fine. That's a good choice, I won't be opposed to that. Give Christopher Nolan his Oscars already. I'd like Anatomy of a Fall to win a few things. You're all complaining about Greta not getting a female director nomination when Justine Triet is right over there with the nod, so that's great. Zone of Interest probably won't win anything, but I'd like it to. I think it deserves it, and same with Poor Things as well. That would be really fun. And then again, Killers of the Flower Moon. While it is, I think, one of the best ones of the year, if it doesn't win things because those go to other awards, other people that haven't won awards, when the people behind Killers of the Flower Moon already won them, I'd be understanding of that, I understand if they want to divvy it out a little bit more. So, we'll see what happens. I'll be having a fun watch party for the Oscars. We're probably going to drink some Miller High Lifes for the Holdovers. We'll have some barbecue wings that are probably Korean barbecue in honor of past lives. And maybe in honor of Anatomy of the Fall, we'll have some smash browns with lots of ketchup. Yeah. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed that. Let me know what you guys think of the Oscar-nominated films and give me your rankings, and we'll have a fun chat about that. And I'll catch you next time. Have a good night.